Cannabis Common Sense, the show that tells the truth about marijuana and the politics behind its prohibition.
Hello and welcome to another exciting edition of Cannabis Common Sense. We have a great show for you tonight. Mr. Tim Pate's over here ready to play some lovely music for you while you look at some pictures from our gardens. And then we have a guest that should be showing up any minute now, Don Skaki of Sensible Washington. They're circulating a petition up in Washington right now. We have an interesting hemp news segment for you tonight. It seems like the whole Department of Justice and federal governments come down against medical marijuana all across the country. We'll be talking more about that in just a minute. We also have a clip of the Global Marijuana March. Tomorrow is the Global Marijuana March in over 300 cities around the world, including right here in Portland. River City will be down at Portland Pioneer Courthouse Square. The march starts at noon, right at noon. If you're late, you'll miss it. And does a mile march through, escorted by the Portland police. They close down the streets for us, and I think this is the 11th annual Portland Global Marijuana March. So we'll be back in just a second as we bring on our infamous dancing cannabis leaves.
I feel the force.
Okay, our first story tonight is from Delaware Online. Delaware Online is our source, and this is written by Chad Living Good. He's living good over there in Delaware. Out of Dover, the state capital in Delaware, the Delaware House on Thursday approved use of marijuana for medical purposes, but tacked on additional restrictions requiring the drug be distributed in tamper-proof containers and prohibited smoking cannabis in buses and vehicles. The Delaware House voted 24-17 on Delaware Senate Bill 17, which now must go back to the Delaware Senate, the upper chamber, to consider the House's changes. Delaware Senate Majority Whip Margaret Rose Henry, the bill's sponsor, said a final vote could happen as early as Tuesday. Henry said, quote, "They're fine about the amendments. It's not a problem. The legislation allows Delawareans with cancer, multiple sclerosis, AIDS, post-traumatic stress disorder, and other debilitating diseases to get a doctor's recommendation to use marijuana to treat their pain, nausea, or illness. Qualified patients would be issued a state of Delaware identification card for the medical marijuana program. 3 state-regulated not-for-profit dispensaries would be established in each county to sell and distribute medical marijuana to qualified patients and caregivers. Only licensed dispensaries would be allowed to grow marijuana. Home cultivation under the proposed Delaware law would remain prohibited. Patients would have to get a doctor's recommendation to smoke, ingest, or use a marijuana vaporizer after other medical treatment or prescription drugs fail to treat their illness," said Representative Helene Kelly of Wilmington West, Democrat. Kelly said, quote, "Whether you're diagnosed with cancer, whether you're diagnosed with MS, you must have tried other drugs. Those drugs must fail first," end quote. In negotiations with the Delaware Medical Society, Henry agreed to remove glaucoma, Crohn's disease, and the early stages of hepatitis C from the list of qualifying illnesses and from the bill to help ensure its passage, Keeley said. Delaware, as among many states, including Washington, California, Montana, Colorado, Arizona, Rhode Island, Maine, Oregon, and New Jersey, the medical marijuana states seem to have been subjected to a coordinated federal attack on medical marijuana by the United States Department of Justice. The U.S. attorneys in all of these states and others have issued letters to the legislature and public statements over the past 2 weeks saying that the federal government is going to prosecute and arrest people who operate dispensaries or cultivate marijuana, even if they are in compliance with the state law. In fact, the U.S. attorneys have threatened several states with prosecuting state officials who issue these permits with conspiracy charges for manufacturing marijuana or a controlled substance. It seems to be a coordinated attack from the United States Department of Justice, and I have a suspicion that probably the DEA is at the heart of it. We have a new DEA administrator who was actually initially appointed under Bush. It's pretty unprecedented that the Republican drug czar would be named as the new DEA head, Michelle Leinhart. And just last October, all the past DEA administrators, all the way back to Richard Nixon, wrote a letter against Proposition 19 to legalize marijuana in California. And that's largely credited with turning the tide against Proposition 19. It was ahead in the polls until a coordinated attack came from the federal government. Now that coordinated attack has seemed to turn against medical marijuana now. They're trying to turn back the clock. So we've got to send them a message that they can't campaign to waste our tax dollars to put us in jail anymore, and we're not standing up for it. We're going to take them down. Anyway, our next story is from today's Bellingham Herald, written by Jordan Schrader. Washington's Governor Chris Gregoire on Thursday praised the medical marijuana overhaul developing in the Washington State Senate, the offspring of legislation she gutted last week. The latest draft leans heavily on city and county rules rather than state regulation. Washington's Governor Gregoire said it's absolutely mindful of her reason for rejecting most of the previous version, concerns that state employees might face federal prosecution for handing out licenses to marijuana dispensaries. But before the topic comes up in the ongoing 30-day special session in Washington State, Gregoire said she wants the leaders of the legislature's four-party caucuses to agree it can be considered. At least one is balking, according to House Minority Leader, Republican Richard DeBolt of Chehalis. He said in a statement, quote, "Passing legislation dealing with marijuana laws is not a priority for House Republicans. The priority," he said, is to balance the budget, the state-run insurance system for injured workers. Democratic majorities might push ahead without bipartisan agreement, hoping it survives another trip to Gregoire's desk. The author of the developing proposal, Senator Jeannie Cole Wells, a Democrat from Seattle in the Washington Senate, said the real question is whether it has the votes to pass, not whether everyone agrees. Senator Cole Wells said, quote, "I'm going to look at the majority of the legislature. I'd be surprised if the governor would veto something she likes because one of the four caucus leaders says he doesn't want it to go forward," end quote. Under her measure, Cole Wells says nonprofit cooperatives of patients could grow marijuana and sell it to their members if local governments allow such operations within their boundaries. Cities and counties could decide whether cooperatives and where they choose to locate or to ban them altogether. Medical marijuana advocates want a legal, regulated market for cannabis, something that wasn't spelled out when voters authorized it for medical use back in 1998 in Washington State. Local officials are looking for directions from the legislature about what to do with dispensaries selling cannabis. Advocates worry only heightened when a key underpinning of dispensaries' legal justification was eliminated by the law that Gregoire signed after vetoing key parts of it. Washington Senator Cole Wells' proposal would address sales without creating a system of state licensing, while it would also give patients protections from arrest in return for joining a state registry. Sheriffs and prosecutors largely support the registry, but not the push for regulation. According to Pierce County Prosecutor Mark Lindquist, he says, quote, "As long as the federal government classifies marijuana as a Schedule I drug, it's a problematic issue for local governments to license or zone or regulate," end quote. Washington's Governor Gregoire has pledged to press the federal government to reclassify marijuana so it can be prescribed by doctors and dispensed by pharmacists. Our next story tonight is from Burlington, Vermont, written by Terry Hollenbach and the Burlington Free Press. From Montpelier, state capital, Vermont Representative Patty Comine was going to vote for a bill that would allow medical marijuana dispensaries in Vermont until a letter from Vermont's top federal prosecutor landed on her desk hours before the vote Wednesday. The last-minute letter threw a speed bump in front of the bill headed for passage, but appeared unlikely to halt it. Vermont's U.S. Attorney Tristan Coffin warn in the letter that marijuana remains illegal under federal law, and those associated with the dispensary were at risk of prosecution. Senator Comey of Vermont said, quote, "I really had every intention of voting for this bill until this morning. The letter impressed me," end quote. Lawmakers and Shumlin's administration knew as the bill was being crafted over the past few months that the federal government considered marijuana in violation of federal law, even if states legalized it for medical use. Vermont legalized medical marijuana for registered users in 2004. This year's bill is designed to give those users a legal means of obtaining the drug if they're unable to grow it for themselves by allowing up to 4 nonprofit dispensaries to be established in Vermont. More than a dozen states have approved marijuana for medical use, with about half of them allowing medical marijuana dispensaries, according to the Associated Press. A 2009 statement from the United States Department of Justice stated that the agency would not spend its resources pursuing such users. The letter from Vermont's U.S. Attorney Coffin, dated Tuesday, indicated a firmer stance. Coffin wrote, quote, "Individuals who elect to operate marijuana cultivation facilities will be doing so in violation of federal law. Others who knowingly facilitate such industrial cultivation activities, including property owners, landlords, and financiers, should also know that their conduct violates federal law," end quote, the U.S. federal attorney for the state of Vermont, Coffin, said in his letter. Our next story tonight is from Helena, Montana, from the Billings Gazette newspaper, and written by Charles Johnson. Medical marijuana advocates in Montana are launching a 3-pronged strategy to veto, sue, and suspend to stop a recently passed bill that would impose far greater restrictions on the cannabis industry and make it harder for people to qualify for medical cannabis use. First, they're trying to convince Montana's Governor Brian Schweitzer to change his mind and veto Senate Bill 423. Schweitzer said Friday he wouldn't veto the bill, but instead would hold his nose and let it become law without his signature. It has not become law yet. The groups also may file lawsuits to challenge the future law, which would put medical marijuana growers and caregivers out of business by July 1st. Finally, they want to stop the law in its tracks by mounting a referendum campaign to suspend it before it takes effect and let voters decide its fate on the November 2012 ballot. According to Jim Gingery, the executive director of the Montana Medical Growers Association, he says, quote, "We're still hoping the governor reconsiders his position and reconsiders this. The governor is very unpredictable," end quote. Tom Dobert, the founder of Patients and Families United, a medical marijuana advocacy group that was crucial in passing that state law, said, quote, "No question the priority at the moment and the sole focus at the moment is to try to persuade the governor to change his mind," end quote. Montana's Governor Schweitzer reiterated Tuesday that he has no intention of vetoing the medical marijuana bill. So there is a coordinated effort from the federal government to try to stop these things from taking place, and we need to contact our legislators at the federal level and let them know that the DEA needs to pull out of politics and go after real drug dealers. This week marks the 100th anniversary of marijuana prohibition, which began on April 29, 1911 in the state of Massachusetts. On that date, Massachusetts lawmakers enacted the first statewide law criminally prohibiting the possession and sale of cannabis by adults. Following Massachusetts' lead, lawmakers in over 30 additional states, including California, Maine, Indiana, and Wyoming in 1913, implemented similar statewide prohibitions. Federal lawmakers in 1937 imposed a national ban on the plant cannabis by enacting the Marijuana Tax Act. The evidence is overwhelming that the 100-year war on cannabis has failed. Prohibition has served as a crime creation program, criminalizing otherwise innocent Americans, promoting a criminal market, and generating disrespect for the law. As in 1911, so today it is government officials, drug cops, and bureaucrats now entrenched in a multi-billion-dollar complex of anti-drug agencies and programs who are the staunchest supporters of the failed system that keeps them on the public payroll. Americans would be well advised to reject their bankrupt paternalism and reclaim their historical freedom to use cannabis. I would like to take just a moment to remember a friend of ours, an inspirational mentor of mine, Ben Mazzell, from Madison, Wisconsin. He passed on from lung cancer just last week. He is the organizer of the Great Midwest Marijuana Harvest Fest, which just celebrated its 40th anniversary last September. He had been a staunch advocate for free speech and civil rights. In fact, back when he was 17, he was the youngest person that President Richard Nixon put on his public enemy list when he protested at the Chicago Democratic National Convention, was arrested at 17, but later sued the federal government, got the first of 136 different arrests that he had in his life for free speech activities. His free speech activities at the state capitol in Madison, Wisconsin opened the state capitol to protests that largely were responsible for allowing the huge rallies that were seen this past winter to support public rights and comprehensive bargaining by unions and employees. So just a moment to remember my friend, Ben Mazzell. I'm going to pop over to Tim Pate. How are you, Tim?
I'm good, Paul. It's a rainy night here in Oregon. It's even got me. I was captivated by that last statement. I'm sorry to hear of that loss of your friend.
Me too.
Yes, it's always a sad thing. So, yeah. Why don't we just make a little
He
music?
was fighting right up to the end. He went to when he got his diagnosis of 4-stage lung cancer last January. He went straight out from there against his doctor's recommendations and went to the state capitol to join in those free speech activities. And just 3 or 4 weeks ago, he was leading the charge to allow free speech advocacy at the state capitol there in Madison.
To the end. To the end.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, that's typical of most people who are involved in the fight that we're involved in. So I'm honored him.
Thank you. That's Mr. Tim Pate.
Thank you, folks.
Hey, we'd like to welcome to the show Don. Hey, Don. Don's
Hey, Paul, nice to see you again.
It's good to see you. Welcome back. You're petitioning on the Sensible Washington Marijuana Reform Act.
Right, Initiative 1149 in Washington State. We brought you down some blank sheets because I've heard from our Vancouver volunteers that they're getting some action up there from Oregon people.
We always have people in Washington that we can get, especially at the Saturday market, things like that.
I want to take some of your sheets back and to Washington and give them to our Vancouver people and leave some here for you.
All right, that sounds like a good plan. Hey, I just want to remind our viewers out there that if you have a question or comment you'd like to make tonight about ending adult marijuana prohibition or restoring industrial hemp, you can call us at 503-288-4448. That's 503-288-4448. And we'll be taking your calls right up to the top of the hour. All right.
Ta-da!
Welcome. Hey, you popped over here.
I did.
Like
I did. It is magic. I like this television magic. It's cool.
So tell us about the petition campaign, Don. It's you've got until July?
Yeah, actually we have the advantage of having the July 4th weekend this year, which we didn't have last year.
Good.
We have to turn them into Olympia on July 8th, 241,153, which was 8% of our last governor's election. And the numbers are, of course, we're just starting at the last several weeks, and the numbers are climbing. We had a 25% increase over what we had last week. So things are not just climbing, they're climbing exponentially.
Good, good.
Of course, what hasn't been climbing is donations. So anybody that can donate to sensiblewashington.org, please go on there and donate what you can. You'll be supporting volunteers out in the field. We've got table space set up at different events. We're at Conscious Culture up in Okanagan this year.
There's your website right there on the screen, sensiblewashington.org.
Yeah, it's great stuff. People are excited. The public is a lot more receptive this year than last year. They're really seeing, especially in these hard economic times, the value of putting an end to arresting 14,000 people a year at $150 million worth.
That's in Washington State alone, right?
Per year, yeah.
So this initiative is asking what?
We're going to do what we proposed to do last year, which is simply remove the civil and criminal penalties from our state law.
Okay.
This is the same example that New York followed.
During alcohol prohibition.
Yeah, an alcohol prohibition. They repealed prohibition 10 years early than the rest of the country. And what this does, and why we feel this is going to be so effective, is by just removing the penalties, we don't create any new law. There's always talk of federal preemption. Well, there's no federal preemption now. So if we just remove the penalties under state law, the federal government will be forced to enforce the federal law at their own expense and without state agents, because there'll be no basis in state law for them to act.
So that would save the state a lot of money. You say $150 million a year? $
$150 million on law enforcement, courts, probation, parole, and that's not even counting the social costs of, when a person loses their job, what does their spouse do? Do they have to then go on to have another job? And what about the at-risk youth that results from that? Those costs are not even accounted for.
Well, I want to remind our viewers that if you have a question or comment for us tonight, you can call us at 503-288-4448. That's 503-288-4448. And we'll be taking your questions.
Now they're doing some, what you're doing right now is you're gathering signatures. It sounds like you have a short window here to gather the signatures, up until just after July 4th weekend, and then you have to turn them in. So,
true,
so you need a lot of support. A lot of people
you
out there
got 2 months from tomorrow, basically.
That's true.
Yeah.
But you'll find that most initiatives, the paid gatherers don't even come out until around Memorial Day, and they get all their work done. I mean, they're paid. That's how they make their money.
Right.
But our people have a lot of heart and a lot of dedication to get this done.
There's a reason we're in the fight, and it has nothing to do with getting paid. It has everything to do with wanting to win this fight.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. If you have plenty of dedicated volunteers, which is always what you need, plenty of,
And with the governor, we've had a medical marijuana bill being put forward. The governor just gutted it with a veto, and that's really inspired a lot of people to act.
Yeah. Not surprising. They have
it seems
the
like
pressure
whole
from the federal government right now is
government's
what's
come down
doing
on
it.
a coordinated basis,
Yes.
not just in Washington State, but in all the medical marijuana states. Just today, in the state of Vermont, they received a letter saying that if the state of Vermont authorizes medical marijuana, that the federal government will come and arrest people who are growing it, or the licensed dispensaries. And that's happened in Washington. It's happened in Montana, Arizona,
California.
almost
Well,
every
it
state.
seems to be the way that they do it. I mean, when you look at Prop
It's a
19
new tactic.
last year,
It's a new tactic that just since Prop 19.
yeah, well, they come out and they threaten you first, and that puts the chill on the
Yes, it does.
on the
Yes.
public.
That's not fun.
And
They're the
we
ones with
just
the
gotta-
guns.
We're the one with the votes.
Yes, but they're the ones with the guns.
Well, it's
Yeah.
the first time since the United States Civil War that the federal government has threatened to arrest state officers carrying out state law. So
And one of the deals, you're right. We're the ones with the votes, right?
Right.
But unless we
Basically,
can get that
150
vote on a
years.
federal level, unless we can make public opinion become public policy on a federal level, we're still going to always face this threat at the federal level.
Sure.
And so it's like the state initiatives. We've got plenty of those going around, and I support yours and want it to pass. I really do. Just like the one we've got going on here in this state. It's we have a legalization bill that we want to see.
Oh, absolutely.
Passed as well. But it's the federal level that's very frustrating. It's even more so tonight after the
Of course,
news.
by removing the penalties, that wouldn't have any impact on federal prohibition. It wouldn't conflict with federal
Yeah, I like
prohibition.
conflict with
it. No,
what
it's a
isn't
good,
there.
it's a good,
That's
it's a
exactly
good way
right.
to
Where
approach
ours
it.
would
I
be
like it.
more of a direct in-your-face conflict, but we designed our proposal specifically to deal with the federal conflict
Yes.
and tried to prevail by setting up a number of findings by the people in a pretty lengthy preamble. And then we wrote the proposal in compliance with international treaty regulations, the Single Convention Treaty and others, in an attempt to try to craft something that would be upheld in federal court.
And in spite of all that, people have still told you you're doing it wrong, haven't they?
Oh, there's some people who say that, but I'm sure you have people telling you you're doing it wrong too. I mean,
Well, yeah, but
regardless
you know
of
what?
which tact you take, there's going to be people out there,
can't please everyone.
especially the people who don't want to see marijuana legalized at all.
Until we do it.
Yeah.
Until the first state does it.
Yeah.
There is no example to follow. There is no wrong way to do it.
Yeah.
As soon as somebody does it, that'll be the right way.
Well, good luck and go to it.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Well, it looks like we're going to see a vote here over the next couple of years. Of course, you can get this on the ballot this November.
that could happen.
In
That's
2011.
our goal.
Yeah, I can see that.
And so, but it looks like next year we'll see. In Oregon, we can only put things on the ballot every 2 years in the general election ballot. But it looks like they'll see votes in California, Oregon, Colorado, and perhaps other states. So,
Well,
time
Paul,
will
I'll tell you, I worked on Initiative 1068 last year, and we got about 80% of what we needed to get on the ballot. I've been dedicated to 1149 this year. If for any reason we don't get on the ballot, we are ready to go for 2012.
Right.
We are not going to give up on this.
Right.
The people of the state want this. When you look at what happens in the legislature, nothing happens in the legislature. So it's going to have to come from a voice of the people to tell them what we want and then have them follow our lead.
True.
Sometimes it's best when nothing happens in the legislature. Like this year, it might have been
Oh.
better if nothing had passed through the
I could go
legislature
back
in
in
Washington
time.
State. And we are very happy here in Oregon to say nothing happened in our legislature
Even
to
though
change
some
our
folks
medical
tried.
marijuana bill. We have a caller who's standing by. Welcome to the show, caller.
Hello.
Howdy.
I want to say thank you very much for everything you've done. I am a 100% disabled American veteran with post-traumatic stress disorder.
Thank you for your
And
service.
I'm a disabled vet myself, not 100% though, but
well, life has been very, very hard for 25 years of my life, and I've struggled in and out of tons of relationships and been in jail. I'm also a convicted felon of aggravated assault because I oftentimes can't control my emotions. And people that don't have this disease don't understand that the only thing that works truly is marijuana. It's the only thing that will calm a person down and take you back to a state where a person can communicate with you. And
That's
this
true.
is true.
it
So
is.
I'm going to hang up, and I just want to tell everybody, if there's someone out there, please start taking control.
Thank
In
you.
Arkansas, this is our first time that the initiative has been put on the ballot or is going to. We need signatures for medical marijuana, and we just need people.
So you're calling from Arkansas?
Yes.
Is there a website for your petition drive? I heard the Marijuana Policy Project was behind the initiative drive there in Arkansas.
Yes. Dustin McDaniel would be the person that approved it. Arkansas Normal, Little Rock chapter, it's on the net. I contacted them, and they've contacted me twice in 2 weeks. So they're looking for people, and we need volunteers.
All right. Well, thanks
for the
for
call.
calling, and
right.
good luck with your drive there in Arkansas.
All right, thank you very much.
Thanks for calling. You know, we have a concert coming up. It's the Hempstead World Music Festival. We have some pretty nifty posters here. Maybe
You
they'll
see them hanging down
get
here?
them concentrate on those hanging down there, and these nice handbills. And we've got Toots and the Maytals, the grandfathers of reggae music, will be coming to our state and doing 3 concerts here across the state. And so there's a poster, and we have a phone call. Welcome to the show, caller.
Yeah, man.
Hey, is this Juba White?
Yes, this is Juba from Dubtonic Crew.
And Jamaica.
Dubtonic, you're going to be playing with at the the Hempstead World Music Festival coming up over the 4th of July weekend.
Yeah, man, and we're looking forward to it. Looking forward to bringing some, great vibes and sharing the vibes with the people of the Oregon, state. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's so authentic. I love it.
We're looking forward. So you're calling us from Jamaica.
Calling from Jamaica at the moment, yeah.
What part of Jamaica are you in?
Well, at the moment, I'm in Kingston, and we're actually producing a show where I'm at a venue at the moment where we're doing a show called Plug and Play. Mm-hmm. Toots was even here last December for this show, and we shared the stage and had a great time. And so we're looking forward to being on the Hempstead stage, Hempstead World Music Festival stage, sharing, the stage in one night. 3 great nights of music, it should be, Bend, Portland, and Eugene, So I have to just tell all the reggae massive, and a matter of fact, music fans in general,
Uh-oh. Did we lose him?
Like we had a little problem with our lines, Jamaica.
Oh, no.
But
Hope that wasn't an earthquake. Or hurricane.
You still there, Juba?
Hey, no, this is Scott.
Hey, Scott.
How you
Howdy.
doing?
Good. We just lost
you have
our
a
friend
question,
from Jamaica.
Scott?
I do have a question.
Go
What's
for
that?
it.
Okay, well, if I'm let me think how I put this. Oh, God, I can't freaking remember. I am a card holder who I have a grower's card.
Uh-huh.
And I was wondering if I was able to pick up medicine for my patients that can't get around.
Yeah, you can carry medicine for your patient if you have a caregiver or a grower card. You certainly may.
Okay, now, would I be able to go and pick it up for him and then bring it to him?
Yes, yeah, that's exactly what you can do.
Oh, sweet. Thank you.
You're welcome. Good luck.
Thank you.
Now, I think we've got Juba White from Dubtonic Crew back on the other line. Are you there, Juba?
Yes, right here.
All
All right.
He's back. Hey.
There was some kind of technical glitch there. I'm glad you made it back.
Yeah, man, no problem.
So you just won a big contest in Southeast Asia with the World Global Battle of the Bands.
Yeah, man.
You want to tell our audience about that?
It was a great experience. It was an experience that we'll cherish, for a long time, because we were among 17 other bands representing their country, at a national level, and countries like Russia had 6,000 bands in their elimination process.
Wow.
To be able to choose their band to represent them in the world finals. So, and we, Dubtonic Crew, was the only band in the competition representing Caribbean music or music from this, diaspora. We had bands from China, we had bands from Malaysia itself, we had Russia, we had Romania, Ukraine, Germany. Mainly rock music, more contemporary music. So it was really a pleasure to represent reggae, represent the Caribbean, or, just to say representing this part, of the world, and to actually come out on top. It was a prestigious event, and so we feel, very honored to have been able to represent and come out on top.
Well, congratulations on that. I really want to thank you for calling over, and we look forward to seeing you again. I know you played last year's Hempstock Festival here in Portland.
That's true. You opened it. Good. This year you get to play some more.
We had a great time. Looking forward to being there as well.
That's right.
Well, I want to thank you, Juba, for coming out and helping us with our Hempstead World Music Festival, and remind our viewers out there that you can find out more about it at hempsteadworldmusicfestival.com. Or I believe there are links on hemp.org as well. You can go to hemp.org to get there. There are tickets available on Tickets Oregon, and I think they just got into Music Millennium as well here in Portland.
Yeah, man. And for the Oregon Massive, to miss this festival is to this. You got to be there. It will be a night of great music. So see you there.
All right. Well, thank you, Juba. I really appreciate you calling up for us.
We'll see you soon.
Okay, so that's Juba White of the band Dubtonic Crew calling us from Jamaica. And we have another caller standing by. Welcome to the show, caller.
Hello.
Hello.
Howdy.
Hi.
Hi there. I was calling to basically ask if you had heard the name Gary Johnson before.
Oh, yeah. Gary came and spoke at our Hempstock Festival.
Yes,
I've met Gary Johnson, and he's got
the former governor of New Mexico.
Two-time Republican governor of New Mexico, exactly.
Yeah,
and he's running for president now.
Yeah, he just announced an exploratory committee, and he was on Fox News the other night, and when asked if he smoked marijuana, he said he has smoked, but he has not exhaled.
Right on.
Yep,
I like it.
Yep. He also said he used medical marijuana for a couple of years to deal with a chronic pain condition after an accident that he had a few years ago. But he's not doing that now. Under New Mexico's law, of course, he could legally use medical marijuana.
Hopefully we'll get him back to Hempstock again this year. That'd be a nice addition. He was a great speaker last year. We'd love to have him back.
We're going to try to get him right here on the show at some point. We had Dennis Kucinich on when he was running for president about 6 years ago. So it'd be nice to get another.
There's definitely a lot of good alternatives coming, rather than the establishment. That's what there needs to be, is just an alternative movement.
It's time to open the discussion among those on that side of the line. Definitely.
But, all right, well, thank you all for what you do, and God bless you all, and have a good night.
Thank you. Thanks for bringing that up.
All right, bye-bye.
So there is a big march happening tomorrow here in Portland and in over 300 other cities around the world. Don, you're going to be there?
I'll be in Portland. There'll be one in Tacoma as well up in Washington.
But you'll be at ours in Portland tomorrow.
Absolutely.
All right. And so we have some video of the 2007 marijuana march that we're going to run now, but we want to urge you to get down to Pioneer Courthouse Square. Get there no later than 11:45 because the march takes off at noon, right at high noon. So here's the film clip.
We want to let everybody know that we're law-abiding citizens and that we respect the law. So let's
relax it and tax it. Medical marijuana gotta have it. Relax it and tax it. Righteousness, nothing but the blood of Jesus. Oh, precious. Legalize it. Legalize it. Legalize it. Legalize it. Legalize it. Legalize it. I smoke pot and I like it a lot. I smoke pot and I like it a lot. Repeat it. I smoke pot and I like it a lot. marijuana. Hey, 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 getting high. Free hemp now, 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 free hemp now. Black and Hispanic. To run on hemp oil. 1 acre yields 300 gallons of biodiesel. Do you want your fuel dollar going in the pocket of an Arab sheik or an American farmer? Which would you rather see your money to? How many American boys have died for fuel that we give me weed or give me death?
That strong, but
The Global Marijuana March takes place here in Portland at Pioneer Courthouse Square tomorrow on May 7th. Be down at Pioneer Courthouse Square by 11:30 at the latest, because it takes off at noon. If you want to miss the march, you don't want to be there late. So come on down, and you can sign our petition to legalize it. If you're watching up in Washington State, you can sign the Marijuana Reform Act. And if you're an Oregon registered voter, you can sign our Oregon Cannabis Tax Act. We have a caller who's been standing by very patiently. Welcome to the show, caller.
Thank you very much.
there you are.
Howdy.
Hi.
Hey, so thanks for doing your show. It's always really entertaining and educational.
Thank
I had
you.
a quick story that I wanted to share with your other listeners and viewers, and maybe you guys can give me some advice as well. It starts off with my lovely wife, and she we were not expecting to have any more kids, so she had an IUD, which is like 99.5% effective, and so she smoked pot, and we found out shortly thereafter that in fact we were the 0.5% that defined the other 99.5%.
1 out of 200, huh?
Yeah. So we found out we were pregnant. She talked to her OBGYN, and he said it's not a big deal and not to worry about. There's no danger to the baby, and so fast forward 8 months later, we're at the hospital about to deliver, and the nurse comes in and asks a whole series of questions, and one of the questions is, has the baby at any point ever been exposed to any drugs? And my wife, being a very honest individual, said, you know what, at the beginning of the pregnancy, I had an IUD. I didn't know I was pregnant, and I smoked some pot. And the nurse said, oh, that's no big deal at all.
That's what she said then, though.
That's what she said then, yeah. And so what happened is, after the baby was born, healthy, the nurse, so right before the baby was born, the nurse gave my wife a drug test, and obviously the drug test came back negative, and we figured that was the end of that. After the baby was born, the nurse came in with the doctor saying, well, since the baby was at risk of being exposed to drugs, even though there was a negative test, we have to bring in DHS, Department of Human Services. And so DHS came into our hospital room right out, hours after the baby was born, and basically, proceeded to tell us that we have to file a report with the state, and they have to interview us as sound parents and it was just a whole host of nonsense because the test was negative. I mean, it was months and months and months ago. So, you know,
in fact, you know, cannabis was used in childbirth as the medicine of first choice up until the 1930s.
Absolutely. Well, not only that, but I mean, you know, my wife and I were both very well educated. We did a ton of research. You know, we'd seen studies from Europe and from Latin America and the Caribbean and the Middle East and Israel and places that have looked at this issue up and down and solidly answered that it's not in any way a danger. But we still found ourselves now somewhere floating in some county system is a report of a DHS report about sort of exposure, drug exposure to our children, and we're trying to figure out do we have any legal grounds to stand on in terms of if the test was negative, did the hospital or did the doctors have any right to proceed with
go out of their bounds?
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if you have the wherewithal to pursue any legal proceedings against these folks, but if you can, I would recommend it. And for a violation of your privacy, for the imposition from the state authorities based on pseudoscience, it's often difficult. But I've heard hundreds of cases where children have been taken from their parents because they use marijuana, and it's just not right. It's wrong.
Yeah.
You know, the other thing too is these are the same agencies that will return children that have been found safe harbor elsewhere back to abusive parents. What are we thinking?
Yeah, so I mean, it's a warning story to others. Basically, you know, the lesson here is
don't tell the truth.
Honest. Yeah. I mean,
lie to these bastards.
Absolutely. There's no incentive to be honest with these kinds of authorities if they're going to punish you for being honest.
It's like being honest with Hitler's Germany and saying, "Oh, I have a great grandfather who was Jewish. You know, persecute me." You know,
right? Exactly.
It's kind of the same sort of thing. These guys, they don't know what the hell they're talking about. You know, they act like they're the experts, but really they're uneducated and going. It's, you know, in the future we'll look back on the marijuana laws the way we look back on Jim Crow and the Spanish Inquisition.
I hope sooner than later because.
Well, we're working at it. If you're a Washington voter, you can sign the Marijuana Reform Act, and we have our petition, the Oregon Cannabis Tax Act. I just recommend you go to
hip.org. I'm going to be supporting that for sure.
But yeah, we want to just legalize it. We'd appreciate your help. And
well, thanks for your.
We want to remind our viewers: don't be honest with these people about your cannabis use.
Not until the rules change and they don't have an excuse to stand on anymore.
Yeah.
Right. Remain silent.
When it comes to your children, it's better to stay in the closet.
It's that scary. You have potential of breaking, the law. That's what gets me. You know, it's the potential of maybe harming your child, even though you never did, and your intent was never to do anything like that. And she had no record of it. So that's what really bothers me in that. You know, they're trying to go after something that didn't even happen.
Yeah, I mean, it really just felt like intimidation is what it felt like.
It is, but it's worse than that. It's witch hunt without any witches.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Thanks for
calling
bringing it up. We appreciate
reminding our viewers about that.
That's an unusual one. It doesn't happen. We don't have it on the show very often, but I know it happens a lot out there. So
it happens quite a bit.
Yeah.
In fact, my oldest boy is going to be 20 in July, and we didn't have any of our children in the hospital because we didn't want to have to deal with the drug testing. We didn't want to deal with. All three of our children were born at home. Fortunately, we were. Everything went fine. Yes. I think we could have had 15 children if we wanted, but we stopped at 3. But we decided to have our children at home so we wouldn't have to deal with it. And they were doing that then. It's been going on for 30 years now. That children have been taking them from their parents solely because of cannabis, which is safer than any other therapeutically active substance known to man, according to the Drug Enforcement Administration's own administrative law judge, Francis Young.
Yeah, meanwhile, they've got you in a hospital room surrounded by some of the strongest narcotics on the planet.
Boy, do they.
Yeah.
They sure do.
Anyway, thank you, guys.
You bet. Thank you.
Thanks for calling, and good luck, and I hope you extricate yourself from that situation.
Really?
I want to remind you out there, if you we have a single signature petition sheet that you can print up on your computer, a single-sided, single signature sheet. You can print that out and mail it into our office on Sandy Boulevard and sign that petition, and you can find out about the Washington one at
sensiblewashington.org. We also have a petition you can print out. It'll be the 20 signature format, but if all you get is one and mail that in, we'll be happy with that. Just make sure it is on 11 by 17 paper and both sides are printed out, or it will not be valid.
Well, that's for Washington State. Here in Oregon, 8.5 by 11 will do. We have a question from a studio audience member. Go right ahead, Rod.
Hey, Paul. So, outdoor plants, we got to have a fence so they can't be seen, like from the street and the public view.
Public, right.
But like someone standing on a truck in my neighbor's yard looking over the fence.
That's not public view.
Right on.
If they're standing on a truck, then that doesn't really count. You know, if they...
Even in their upstairs, if they got a 2-story house, it can see over the fence.
Well, that's not a public place.
All right. Cool.
Yeah. All right, good luck with that. You know, we have a little poster here. Next week, our guest on the show is going to be Gatewood Galbraith, one of the founders of the hemp movement here in America. He introduced me to Willie Nelson back about 20 years ago, and Willie just cut a commercial that supports Gatewood's gubernatorial race. He's running for governor for the state of Kentucky. So next week, we're going to have him here on the television show, and we're going to have a little rally for him, a fundraiser for his Kentucky governor's race. It's Saturday at 4 p.m. at the Clinton Street Theater. So you want to come down for that, but we'll be talking more about that next week when Gatewood's on the show.
And Paul, I'd be remiss to tell if I didn't tell you that the Initiative 1149 in Washington will allow the growing of hemp in Washington State.
All right.
That's another $100 million crop we buy from China and Canada.
Right.
That we need right here in America for America's green jobs.
I think that that's the real key behind marijuana prohibition. The petrochemical industries made up the whole reefer madness myth. So we aren't driving our cars on hemp, and we aren't, you know, so non-toxic.
Is that one your card?
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty nice. Marijuana causes white women to seek sexual relations with Negroes, according to Harry J. Anslinger, the first head of the Bureau of Narcotics. He said that back in 1936.
This was taken directly from his testimony in front of Congress, and it was not challenged.
Wow.
Just was all sold on lies.
Wow.
Well, what would President Obama say about that? I guess,
yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
What would his wife say?
I don't know. We have another caller. Welcome to the show, caller.
Hey, how you doing?
Very well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Well, Michael, I actually have 2 questions.
Go right ahead. We got about 4 minutes, so.
Okay, but it'll be pretty quick. I was wondering, I'm a card holder. I've had carpal tunnel surgery a couple months ago, and I'm still having pain, so I decided to get my medical marijuana card. And I was wondering if it was covered by my insurance.
No, probably not.
Probably not. Okay, and well, my other question is probably a pretty quick one, too. I was wondering if I could get fired for a dirty UA even though I have the medical marijuana card.
Yes, you can.
Yes, you can. Yeah. There's no protections for employees in this state. They wrote protections in the state of Arizona. There's protections in the state of Michigan, but the Oregon Supreme Court has ruled against medical marijuana patients' employment rights. So an employer can decide to fire you if you test positive, if that's their policy. Now, you know, at our company, we have a drug testing regime. Ours is quality control, though, so we don't have to no urine tests. What I always like to say is, you know, the only piss test you'll get from me is a taste test. But,
yeah.
Anyway.
Terrible man.
I wish my employer had one like that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, bye.
So, Don, we're closing down. You want to give people another little plug for the Sensible Washington website
Absolutely.
and campaign?
It's sensiblewashington.org. You can go there. You can donate. You can volunteer. We need 241,153 signatures by July 8th, and we are not paying anyone to get them. We don't have money to pay anyone to get them. So all the true believers that really want this done this year, let us show the country. Let us be the example and legalize in Washington State for medical, social, and industrial use.
And we have a petition here in Oregon I'll remind our viewers about. You can find out more about it at cannabistaxact.org, or you can just scroll down a little bit at our portal website, hemp.org. That's HEMP.org. And we can certainly use your help. We have an easier row to hoe. We only need about 87,000 valid registered Oregon voter signatures. We want to turn in about 135,000, about half what you need. But we have 15 months to go, and you've got 2.
Right.
So.
Well, while we're out there, when we run into people from Oregon, we'll have them sign and we'll get you those sheets.
All right, we'll have some sheets here tonight, so you'll be able to sign it if you're a Washington registered voter or an Oregon one or the other, here at the Global Marijuana March tomorrow, which is going to be at Pioneer Courthouse Square. Also want to remind viewers out there that if you or a loved one are looking for a doctor who can help you get a medical marijuana permit, we have a physician referral service, and physicians all across the country can help you. You can call us toll-free at that number there on your screen. It's 1-800-723-0188. That's 1-800-723-0188. If you're here in the Portland area, you can call us at 503-235-4606. You can also call that number to get involved in the petition drive or any of our other activities. And last but not least, don't forget our Hempstead World Music Festival coming up on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th of July across the state of Oregon. I want to thank you all for watching. We're going to go out with the music of Mr. Tim Pate. Tune in next week and help us restore hemp.
That's right.
Good night.
See you next week, folks.